Good morning. I wanted to go through First Corinthians chapter 2. I had referenced it as something in Ephesians in my little last one, and that's not true. It's First Corinthians 2:16 is what I was talking about. But I want to read the whole chapter because I have noticed that there has been I don't want to say a tendency, like this is a regular thing, but I have noticed that it has been preached, chapter 2, in sections, and that it has stopped at verse 11 and not continued, and kind of that the section like verses 6 to 11 have been used to speak about how there's a maturity. You have to grow in maturity, in that we don't understand God's thoughts, and that you have to grow in maturity to be able to understand. And that I don't want to get too far into it because that is there is truth in that, but in this context, I just want to read the whole thing so we can be really clear about what chapter 2 is saying in First Corinthians. So, First Corinthians chapter 2, let's read the whole thing. When I came to you, brothers, I did not come with eloquence or superior wisdom as I proclaimed to you the testimony about God. For I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and Him crucified. I came to you in weakness and fear, with much trembling. My message and my preaching were not with wise and persuasive words, but with a demonstration of the Spirit's power, so that your faith might not rest on men's wisdom, but on God's power. I love that. We do, however, this is verse 6, speak a message of wisdom among the mature, but not the wisdom of this age, or of the rulers of this age who are coming to nothing. No, we speak of God's secret wisdom, a wisdom that has been hidden and that God has destined for our glory before time began. None of the rulers of this age understood it, for if they had, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. However, it is as it is written, no eye has seen, no ear has heard, no mind has conceived what God has prepared for those who love Him. But God has revealed it to us by His Spirit. Verse 10, the Spirit searches all things, even the deep things of God. Verse 11, for who among men knows the thoughts of a man except the man's spirit within him? In the same way, no one knows the thoughts of God except the Spirit of God. That's the end of verse 11. If we were to leave it there, that would be a little sad. But let's continue. We have not received the spirit of the world, but the Spirit who is from God, that we may understand what God has freely given us. This is what we speak, not in words taught us by human wisdom, but in words taught by the Spirit, expressing spiritual truths in spiritual words. The man without the Spirit does not accept these things that come from the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness to him. He cannot understand them because they are spiritually discerned. The spiritual man makes judgments about all things, but he himself is not subject to any man's judgment. Verse 16, for who has known the mind of the Lord, that he may instruct him? But we have the mind of Christ. Boom. End of chapter 2. That last section is super awesome and super intense. You can't leave out verses 12 through 16 when you read chapter 2. You just can't, because the first half of this builds up to the truth of the message within chapter 2, which is we have been given the mind of Christ. We have been given the Spirit who is from God so that we may understand what God has freely given us. That's so important. We can't leave it as, in the same way no one knows the thoughts of God except the Spirit of God, and not understand that that Spirit of God dwells within us, so that we may understand what God has freely given us. That's really important. So I just want to encourage you that you have been given the mind of Christ, that the Spirit of God dwells within you. That's awesome. He has given it to you so that you may understand what God has freely given you. So I speak wisdom and discernment, Lord, understanding for us who seek you, who desire to know you more. I thank you for your Spirit that dwells within me, the mind that you have given me. I just am so thankful for you. Awesome. This is good news. It's good news. That's just good. Praise Jesus. Okay. Yeah.